Hello, my name is Jaime and I work for the MidPointe Library System. And today I am going to show you how to draw our lovable lion Shakespurr. And you see here he's holding a book that he probably picked up from our library. And I'm currently on a tablet, and you will have a pencil and a paper and an eraser. Do not feel like you have to draw exactly like him or exactly the way I am drawing. This is just something to practice with or to do something fun. You can even do your own version of Shakespeare if you want to. There's always different styles that people draw in, and you do not have to follow this exact one. But at least this will be a great tutorial to show you how to kind of break him down. So when you start out on your sheet of paper, you can always draw some basic shapes, or maybe on a separate sheet of paper you can have just some loose drawings to kind of get the feel for his shape and how tall he is. Like let's start with, and this will just be sort of a warm-up sketch at the moment. So like his head is sort of stretched out real long, like a cylinder or maybe a long oval. Or you can even break up his like mouth and nose area into a couple of other shapes. You could keep him in circles. His ears are very oval. The hair kind of has this triangle feeling to it. Get his neck in. The top portion is very triangle but round at the same time. Where his arms are, and his body is kind of this bean shape but still very rounded. The legs kind of almost do this straight up and down. And then the shoes can almost be another triangle in themselves. And the tail is just kind of a quick, almost backwards S. But you just want to think of him as some basic shapes at first. And that's kind of a great way, even when you're drawing humans, it would be a great thing to practice just doing a quick drawing. Plus it gets you to kind of look around the figure, get an idea of shapes and what creates that character or the person. And I'm just kind of throwing in the book in there as well. But obviously you can turn to a new sheet of paper. I just wanted to do something like that real quick for you to see. But let's kind of focus in on his face. And it's a very cute face and sweet, but I always like to kind of start with the eyes. Some people do not feel comfortable with that, and that's fine as well. But I'm going to start on the right side of his face, which is technically his left eye. And I'm going to do kind of where the top of his nose is. So that line that's kind of curving around the eye and then going out and down toward the nose. And my drawing will probably not be exact to him, but this is something that you would practice a lot with to kind of get the feel for maybe the look of a character. And the more you draw something like this, the more you'll feel comfortable with it. But I'm just keeping that oval of his left eye coming off of the beginning of that top part of the nose. I would say that's probably the bridge of his nose if he was a person. And then let's do the right eye, which is to the left of our paper. And you want to give a little bit of space and just try to get in your oval. And it's fine if you have sketchy lines like I do. You can always clean it up because we have our eraser. When you're using a pencil, though, it's best to try not to like etch into your paper. You don't want to draw super hard. You want to keep it fairly light as you go. And with his nose, it's kind of that triangle, cute pink nose. And it just curves a little differently than a regular triangle. But then the left side, left of our paper, but his right side of his face, curves down and has these great circular jowls. And go from the right with the curve down to the other circle. And his mouth is actually pointing more toward the right. So I'm kind of fixing that. And it's a little harder for me to erase. I always want to grab an eraser versus using the tool. Okay. And then you can kind of indicate his mouth. Just do a little curve that then mimics another little curve to do the bottom lip if he was a human. And then around his eyes, kind of where his eyebrows are, we'll start curving the right side of his face, down around his eye, going past. And stretching up a little higher. And then we're going to get that other eyebrow. And then I'm going to try to do what is his right ear, but to the left of our page. We want enough space to do his ear so that it isn't too close to the eyebrow, because his ear isn't sticking on the eyebrow. It's back further on his head. And like I said, since I have some sketchy lines, I can always fix them by erasing some of the extra lines that we don't need. But I always draw a little sketchy to try to get a feel of the shape that I want. And getting that shape of the side of his face. Erasing the lines I don't want or don't need. And getting his left ear in. And then he kind of has his mane is swept away a little bit, like he has bangs that go behind his ear on the left. And you can always add more details as we go. I just want to get as much of the shape of him as possible. and like the main outlines. And I always find his mane to be real fun. So just do the top of the mane. Enjoy the little loops. And that part may be just a little too far down. And you see, you would be able to erase this, but I'm kind of just going back on the lines I created. And there's always a point in a drawing where you're doing the character or anything, even a still life, and it'll have an ugly stage. So do not feel defeated. Just keep pushing through it, because you will end up finding a happy medium where you could have stopped and then realized that you missed out on doing a really cool drawing. But just look at your reference picture and try to draw the shapes. That you see in relationship to where is his mane to the side of his face. Just to give you an idea. But again, don't stress out about it not looking exactly like him, or if it doesn't look exactly like the drawing. I'm just getting the shapes in to make it look similar to, and I think I'm going to end up running into him a little bit here, because his mane really is kind of curly and crazy looking. And once you kind of get his neck in, and my Shakespurr is definitely a little larger than our reference image, but oops, I can get in real tight and kind of clean some of that up. And that's why I don't want you to feel like it has to be perfect. This is something that takes a lot of practice, and some things are just not what people feel comfortable with doing all the time. Some people just have an easier time doing their own characters, coming up with their own things. Others really need reference images and need help with that. And it's really just working your way around the drawing. And seeing how the shape is of the original. And really the best way to learn is to copy what others have done or created, and obviously not sell them. And I know some people cringe as soon as they hear copy, but it really is just a way to practice and to teach what your mind, about what you see, and how you can translate it on the page. Just mimic that shape. working my way down. And this would be also something good to kind of practice in your sketchbook. Working my way down his body. And his belly. And his legs are definitely more human-like. Fairly even on either side. And of course, I just realized that I had sort of missed his other arm. So I'm going to jump up there real quick. It's really just an elbow that we see. And then back to his shoes. He has these really cool high tops. The tongue is sort of out, but the shoes kind of butt up against each other, go straight down, curve, little tongue to the shoe, another curve. And then the bottom of his shoe is just very straight. We have these great circle in the front, or half circle. And little ovals on the sides. You can see these little lines that are other ovals that I think are his shoelaces. And his knees are not very far above the shoes. He's kind of short-legged. And let's not forget about his tail. It's kind of snakes. The end of his tail is kind of a great oval as well. Zoom back into his face. Get his iris in there, which is also an oval, kind of matching the shape of his eye shape. And the other side, since we don't see as much of it, it has more of a roundness to it. But I always do the iris first personally. Then a lot of times I'll do that little light spot. And that can really make a character look alive. And the pupil is a filled in spot. And I'm just going to fix around his eye a little bit. He has a kind of extra couple lines on his snout. And let's add his little cheek line. And this is where you would have still be using your pencil, but kind of just adding little specifics that you probably ignored or left to get your basic or main shape of him. I'm just going back into his mane and doing more of his curves, curls, little lines that really make his mane really interesting to look at. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly like the reference. Just kind of give an idea or show that you were taking a look at that. And really, you could come up with your own version of Shakespurr. Because you'll notice in the original drawing that there's a lot of thins and thick lines, kind of varying darknesses. Come back to the nose. And the color can really change things too. Like he has 3 little dots on his snout for the 3 whiskers he has coming off his face. And I didn't get all of the hair texture going on. And he has a couple of pieces on his tail. And you would have drawn this in pencil, so you can actually go back over top of your pencil lines with a marker or even just a ballpoint pen. This would be when you would kind of clean up the lines, keep some of the lines you want. Anything that you really like, you want to keep, definitely draw with a thicker line or with your marker or pen. Then you can kind of finalize him and clean him up. And then you would be able to add color just like in the original drawing. Maybe he's a purple lion. You never know. Just have fun with him. Enjoy trying him out. Well, thanks for drawing with me. I hope you enjoyed drawing Shakespurr and that you draw him in maybe other positions or poses, or maybe just do some silly faces with him, or maybe come up with your own. Just have a blast and keep drawing and stay creative. Thank you. Bye.